So, ladies and gentlemen, to take us through the policy framework that has been crafted towards developing our nation, your nation, Sri Lanka, would like to call upon Dr. Harshana Suriyapperuma.
Very good evening to all of you all. A warm welcome to the dignitaries, industrialists, and the business community who are present here today to witness the unveiling of economic policies to take this country forward. If we take a first look at as to why Sri Lanka in this mess today, we can see a combination of crises that has contributed to that. First one is the GDP crisis. You can see very clearly how our neighboring countries, our counterparts, have improved their GDP over a period of time. Vietnam, Bangladesh, South Korea, from a similar base, they have grown up to 440 billion. South Korea has grown up to 1.7 billion, whereas we are struggling to come out from the 84 billion mark that we are continuously stuck. This is due to the failed policies. The government has not supported the businesses and industries to come up to take the country to the next level. The crisis number 2 is the fiscal crisis. You can see very clearly our expenses were continuously increasing. However, our revenue was not keeping pace. As a result, the deficit has widened, leading to a massive gap. If you look at the tax revenue that we collect from income taxes and value-added tax, put together it is less than 2.5 trillion, whereas our debt servicing cost alone is 2.6 trillion, which is about 40% of total expenses. This is clearly unsustainable. The crisis number 3 is the forex crisis. We can see from here, our exports have not kept pace while imports were continuously above exports. If not for the remittances we had from our mothers and sisters working in the Middle East, our brothers working in South Korea and in Japan, if not for the $6 billion of remittances, our crisis would have been much deeper because our trade gap is standing at 8 billion. Therefore, the fourth crisis, not the least, but the fourth crisis is the debt crisis. We can see over a period of time, we were borrowing and continuously trying to come up with it. However, the practices started in 2015 onwards. The composition of our debt has changed, where our country has borrowed significant amounts from foreign creditors at terms which are not favorable to Sri Lanka, resulting in a mountain of debt that we are unable to serve and sustain. The macro-linked bonds that have been proposed as of now, many economists argue that is not the correct way forward because the IMF targets of 3.1% growth, but if you look at even the chambers of commerce is indicating 6.5% growth for Sri Lanka. So we can see why macro-linked bonds will not provide the best benefit for Sri Lankan businesses and citizens. Therefore, we need to look at an alternative path, that is to create the macroeconomic stability. We have a three-pronged approach: the short-term measures, medium-term measures, and long-term measures. Much needed relief for people to ensure social stability is maintained. Basic food, education, medicine has to be provided to people to maintain to provide stability, to support their lifestyles. Not only that, the fiscal policies has to be aligned to drive the growth that we are targeting. One side by eliminating wasteful expenses, from the other side by introducing progressive taxation. It is to drive the country to the next level. Our monetary policies can't work on its own. monetary policy has to work in hand with fiscal policies to create stable interest rates, exchange rates, price levels, obviously while regulating the banking and finance sector. Similarly, the plans are in place, policies are designed to increase our reserves to greater heights by relying on low-hanging fruits such as tourism, IT, and by introducing new investment products such as expatriate bonds to attract foreign inflow into the country. While we do this one, we need to continue to engage with our providers of finances. That's where the DSA, the debt sustainability, is very important. The alternative debt sustainability assessment that we have done is very important. That is, it will provide the basis for discussion because the underlying assumptions that were taken at the time of designing has changed. Therefore, we need to have a new debt sustainability assessment to continue our negotiations in good faith to get the best outcome for Sri Lankan people and for businesses. If you look at the potential we have as a nation, this shows in 2023, our export earnings is 17.9 billion. But in 5 years, we are expecting it to grow to 45 billion. This number is not a hypothetical number prepared by ourselves, but it was prepared with the contribution with the industrialists who are present today. We can see the composition is going to change. The services are going to play a bigger role as we move on to the future to achieve the economy that we are looking at. The service sector potential from current 5.4 billion to 20 billion, it's a fourfold increase. We are counting on tourism from the current level of 2 billion to 8.5 billion, IT sector from 1.2 billion to 5 billion, marine services from less than $1 billion to $3 billion, and other services such as construction, financials, leading up to 3.2 billion. Similarly, there's a huge potential in our goods, exports of goods as well, led by apparel sector, agriculture through value-added products into the export market, other industrial goods, rubber sector, machinery, petroleum products, food and beverage, gem and jewelry, and fisheries. So there's a whole heap of industries that are aligned, working with us to achieve these targets and goals to take Sri Lanka forward. But there's a role for the government as well. To generate this growth, a conducive environment for investment has to be created. We were talking for a one-stop shop for decades, but we were not able to produce that one, succeed in that venture. NPP will ensure one-stop shop will be created within the shortest possible time. We will attract FDI. We will welcome foreign direct investments that are aligned with national policies. That is not at the expense of sustainability. We will maintain our focus on sustainability. That will be driven through a wave of technological adoption, digitization, while aligning our workforce to ensure a productive workforce is available for the business community to take their ventures forward. We will strengthen the domestic production, our policies to support the micro sector, small sector, medium sector businesses. There's a specific and separate industrial policy that we have prepared with the input of industrialists who are present today to provide relief to industries and businesses who are struggling due to economic calamity. A relief banking mechanism has been designed. Research and development is a key component in our policy matrix where entrepreneurs will be supported, where products that are at the end of commercialization process will be supported to reach out to new markets. Similarly, our human resources will be developed by aligning with the requirements of the businesses and industries. Simplified form of taxation, progressive taxation, and an efficient collection mechanism to finance the growth for the future that we are looking for. We need development banks to provide low-cost capital, to provide long-term capital, where necessary even to provide grace periods for businesses to come up. If you look at capital markets, purpose-driven policies to invite more businesses into the Colombo Stock Exchange, to invite more investors into the market. Capital market provides a valuable opportunity for alternative capital raising, long-term funding, for equity, for debt, to quasi-equity, hybrid instruments, and other forms of financial instruments. With, once again, policy-driven approach, we will develop a robust framework to invite funds and institutional investors back into the market. While strengthening the local production, our businesses will be connected to the global value chain, where industrial inputs will be made available to drive down the cost base of industries and businesses for them to compete better in the international market as well as in the local markets. Driving down cost base relating to energy cost, technology cost, financing cost, transportation costs, etc. For our businesses to be in par with global developments, we encourage through our policy initiatives for them to adopt and embrace Industry 4.0 and 5.0 developments. We will facilitate through policies efficient market mechanisms where government will interfere where necessary, will intervene where necessary if the market mechanism is interrupted, to support particularly where monopolistic behavior is acting to the detriment of the business community as well as to the consumers of Sri Lanka. We will develop and maintain our infrastructure to push the development into the remote Sri Lanka, rural villages and provinces of Sri Lanka. Global markets will be reached through commercial diplomacy to make sure we have a diverse product basket to offer to the international markets. Currently, instead of relying on the unskilled labor that we send to the Middle East, we want to develop our talent pool to make sure they are able to reach a global market and earn a higher income. Similarly, sorry for the mishap on that. This will be not at the expense of sustainability. Our forest cover has depleted continuously. Our waste disposal has increased continuously. Our social fabric has depleted, where women and children are vulnerable, and the drug use, abuse have been rampant and reported daily in the newspapers. Rape, and many crimes being reported on the newspapers on a daily basis. Happiness index, we are at the bottom at 128th position. Many millions of Sri Lankans are struggling to make the ends meet without having basic necessities in terms of food, education, and healthcare. The governance index, the corruption perception index indicates Sri Lanka ranked 85th position in 2014, whereas it has come down to 115th position. Due to lack of accountability and transparency, country is going down in the drain by the day. This is why the governance diagnostic assessment report of the IMF has not been implemented as of now. The civil society governance diagnostic report has not been reviewed to the extent to take the advantage of the suggestions given there. The rampant corruption, lack of accountability and transparency is hampering our growth. This is why the role of the state is very important to intervene where necessary with fair and proportionate regulation, timely monitoring, to ensure government will play the role as a facilitator to support the businesses, to ensure social fairness and efficient and effective services discharged from the government institutions that are deserved by the citizens and businesses. Our state-owned enterprises, where necessary, will be restructured. Models such as private, public, people participation will be explored. As the government is short of capital, much needed capital, private sector will be invited to invest in some of these restructuring and reforms. We will welcome foreign investments once again, create a conducive environment for them to efficiently get their work done in an efficient manner within a framework of consistent policies. The country need to have consistent policies for businesses to predict and forecast for the future as investments are expanding for over a period of time. This will be delivered. The bedrock of our policies and initiatives is by making sure rule of law will be maintained in the country with the policy of zero tolerance for corruption, where no one is considered above law. Politicians will not be able to act with impunity. For the first time in Sri Lanka, clean politics with transparency, accountability will be delivered to support the initiatives that we are preparing and to be implemented with the business community. This has to be led by example at the highest level, from the political authority to the institutions that we have in the country. Unfortunately, the institutional culture where corruption is deep-rooted had to be addressed. But we can't do that one just by changing the president of this country or appointing a military general as the head of the institution. We tried, but we failed with that approach. That is why we are saying we all need to join hands to take this country forward, where party leader is ready and committed to deliver. There is a team behind to back the initiative. That's why we want you also to join hand with us to take that leap of faith to build the country that we all deserve. Thank you very much.